Ladies and gentlemen of planet Earth, it's an oasis in space, isn't it? Hello to everybody. This is an oasis, our planet Earth. It contains all the resources that we all need to live. The fresh water we drink, the air we breathe. We live from fisheries. More than 2 billion people on planet Earth live from fishing, and 90% of our day-to-day products contain water, of course. It's the basis of our life on Earth in this universe, isn't it? So, as I'm an explorer and I produce films and I'm a witness to what goes on in the oceans, I feel privileged, but I think we have responsibility to shoulder vis-à-vis our oceans. And I'm the third generation embarking on these projects in our family, and I must say we've seen lots of changes going on. Subsea, underwater. You possibly know these people? On the screen, a man well known around the world. He was my grandfather, Fabien Cousteau, a pioneer traveling around the oceans and trying to discover the mysteries under the sea, under the deep blue sea. And he's produced several tools that enabled us to go into the dark depths. He invented something to help us to fly under the sea without problems of gravity. He also produced submarine cameras to enable us to bring back our fantastic images above the surface. That was done by him for more than 50 years. And something that's excited me since I was a small boy is a fairly strange idea, perhaps. It's the idea of being able to live under the sea and to be able to build a subsea village in the Red Sea, where he and his team lived for about 30 days. So, in my imagination, I've always wanted to continue pressing forward with this research, to push back this outer frontier that's under the sea, so as to know more about what goes on down there and what can be the dynamic that will imbue the relationship between people and the oceans. It's like a big bank account of natural resources under there, but we've got to think of our future and be sparing of those resources and garner in what we can for the future. We have Aquarius, which is a submarine laboratory based 15 kilometers off the Florida coast, 3 atmospheres. And it is something that's a luxury for us. We have the luxury of being able to spend time under the sea. As our bodies adapt to pressure and absorb maximum 3 atmospheres of nitrogen and oxygen, we can then travel for 10 to 12 hours per day and go and dive deep into the dark depths and come back with information, of course. There's something else that's rather strange, is that for the first time, we've managed to invite people to take part in the expedition round the clock because we had Wi-Fi for the first time in the dark depths. And we had hundreds of thousands of people who went to see what was happening through the cameras live. And my mother was one of those people. She saw me coughing one day. I was getting ready to dive, and my phone rang, and she said, "How are you, my son? Are you doing okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "But I saw you were coughing. Are you ill? Maybe we should send you a doctor." And of course, well, I was kind of shaken that I had direct contact with somebody out there, especially my mother. But even more importantly, we went into the dark depths and we were part of the aquatic community down there and came back with more than 3 years' worth of scientific databases on themes like climate change, the pH that's starting to be more and more of a problem down there, attacking the carbon structures like coral and crustaceans and plankton. And, of course, other pieces of information to do with the natural resources that our life depends on that are now depleted in certain areas. Look at fish, for example, certain species of fish. We've depleted 60% of the total volume of fish in the world. And this requires a lot of solutions to be found. Having said that, as I'm an explorer first and foremost, we've seen some dynamics too between citizens of the oceans that we were able to perceive other than being there 24 hours a day. If you look at the barracudas being attacked by a small fish, a grouper, it's amazing to see a small fish attacking a huge big fish. They're starting to do things differently down there too. So basically for the future, I think we should be hopeful that we'll be able to go and find resources, even farm resources, blue algae perhaps, that might be a source of renewable energies in the future. Or even better, we might go down deeper and go and see health-wise what we can find down there that might be useful. There are chemicals that have infiltrated into the oceans that are like our veins, like our blood. You can see babies born in Amazonia these days with more than 250 chemicals in their bodies, and they're about 3,000 kilometers away from places that might have polluted. So these days, with our mobile devices of all sorts, we can communicate. And this generation has the ability to communicate and is especially motivated. For the last 10 years or so now, we've seen young people taking charge of the situation, going out to innovate, doing groundbreaking things, generating millions of jobs in so doing, moving towards a more brilliant future for mankind. And there's something else I'd like to say. It's this growing awareness we have by the public at large that is actually motivating governments around the world to protect our oceans, our 3.5 billion cubic meters worth of volumes of water, with which we have more than 95% of biodiversity on planet Earth, as known to us at least. More than 95% of our biodiversity is to be found in the oceans. And we have the marine protected areas, 1% only that are protected right now. Only 1% are marine protected areas. So this is our resource bank. It's like a natural bank account, a natural resource bank account. We should start living on the interest instead of eating away our capital, in other words. Perhaps in the future we'll have even up to 20% MPAs, or bring it up to 100% if possible, so that we have a robust bank account and can live purely on our interest and not on our capital anymore, and hand that on to our children. And the last pointer towards a more hopeful future is the following. I helped to set up an NGO called Plant a Fish. It's like planting trees, but the idea was plant a fish this time. You're familiar with the idea of planting a tree. Now, we neglected the oceans for so long. It's more than 99% of the volume where there are living species, after all. So why not plant a fish? So with this NGO called Plant a Fish, we plant communities around the world, in the Maldives, for example, or in Florida, where children go and plant mangroves by the beaches. It's a natural barrier, you see, the mangrove, against hurricanes. So also these areas act as nurseries, enabling more than 70% of crustaceans and fish and living species going to take refuge in the coral reefs. It enables them to grow to maturity, quite simply. And we have also managed to go to talk to very poor fishermen in El Salvador. They make their living out of natural resources, marine resources, to feed their children. They live by fishing. We've actually made them into active ecology players, too. In the space of 3 years, we worked with them and motivated them to release more than 760,000 turtles, but also they set up a cooperative in El Salvador for ecotourism that now has replaced their former means of livelihood, so they can now not just fish for a living, but invest in their future in ecotourism as well. So that's just a success story from El Salvador. My grandfather told me something interesting when I was young, is that people protect what they like or what they love, and they love what they know, and they know what we teach them. So in order to protect these resources, in order to have a more shiny future ahead of us, we have to know what we're talking about. We've got to press forward, and I think our future will be bright. Thank you.